There was once a man who knew everything. Not most things, not his field, everything. Every language that had ever been written down, every planet that had been mapped, every creature that had been named, every theory about where humanity came from. One man held all of it. And the reason you've never heard of him is the most important part of the story. Most people, when they hear that, assume the explanation is simple. It was a different time. Knowledge was smaller back then. There wasn't that much to know. That's not quite right. Athanasius Kircher was born in Germany in 1602, the ninth child of a scholar who made sure his son could read Latin before most children could read anything at all. By the time Kircher died in Rome in 1680, he had published 44 books. They covered mathematics, geology, music theory, Egyptology, astronomy, medicine, optics, linguistics, and the history of every ancient civilization he could find records of. He had taught himself 12 languages, including Coptic, which no living European could read at the time. He built the first magnetic clock. He designed some of the earliest mechanical calculators ever constructed. He lowered himself by rope into the crater of an active volcano to take measurements from the inside. He corresponded with over 760 scholars across Europe, Asia, and the Americas. He ran what historians widely consider the world's first public natural history museum in his own rooms in Rome, where visitors traveled from across the continent to see artifacts from Egypt, the Americas, China, and the ancient world gathered together in one space. And he was wrong about almost all of it. Kircher believed the Egyptian hieroglyphs encoded secret mystical wisdom passed down from the time before recorded history. He spent decades translating them. His translations were entirely invented. When the Rosetta Stone was finally decoded in 1822, almost nothing Kircher had written held up. He believed the interior of the Earth was a vast system of fire-filled tunnels connecting volcanoes across continents. Wrong. He built elaborate mechanical systems to demonstrate the movement of planets. His model of the solar system placed the Earth at the center. Wrong again.
Today, the total volume of peer-reviewed scientific literature doubles approximately every 9 years. There are researchers who spend entire careers studying a single protein, a single subspecies of beetle, a single skirmish from a conflict most people have never heard of. The map of human knowledge has grown so vast that no individual can see more than a narrow corner of it, and the corners keep getting smaller. Somewhere inside that expansion, something slipped away, and we never noticed it go. But the strangest part isn't the scale of what we've built, it's what that scale does to the people living inside it. Kircher worked in the last window of history when a single human mind could hold the full shape of what humanity understood. He could stand in his museum in Rome, surrounded by Egyptian artifacts, astronomical instruments, mechanical devices, and specimens sent from the Americas, and feel that he was looking at the entire territory. He was wrong about vast portions of it, but he could see all of it, the whole map at once in one room. Nobody alive today can do that. Not the most decorated scientist in any generation. Not the most widely read intellectual alive. No one working now has a view of the full territory. We all hold detailed maps of our own small patch. We trust that the other patches exist, that other people are working them, that somewhere the pieces are adding up to something coherent. But none of us has ever seen the whole shape. There is a word for what Kircher was attempting: consilience, the unification of knowledge. The idea that physics, biology, history, philosophy, and linguistics are ultimately describing the same underlying reality, and that a mind willing to stand back far enough should be able to see how they connect. The biologist E. O. Wilson spent the final decades of his life arguing that we had quietly abandoned this project, that in our drive to specialize, we had stopped asking how the fields fit together, that the largest questions about consciousness, about meaning, about what kind of civilization we are building, cannot be answered from inside any single corridor. They require someone willing to try to see the whole thing at once. No one has been able to try since Kircher. So here is what actually happened. Kircher was not the sharpest mind of his era. There were more careful experimenters, more rigorous logicians, more precise observers. By almost any individual measure, he was not the best at any single thing he studied. What made him unlike anyone before or since was that he was the last person who genuinely attempted to be competent at all of it. The explosion of knowledge that followed him made us extraordinarily powerful. We can cure diseases he couldn't name. We can see galaxies no instrument he ever built could detect. We understand the physical world at scales he had no framework to imagine. Every corridor he could barely see the entrance to now runs so deep that entire generations of human beings have spent their lives inside it and still not reached the bottom. But the cost was never announced. Nobody voted on it. Nobody decided. It simply happened, gradually, across centuries, as the map got larger and the people making it got smaller relative to its size. We stopped being able to see the shape of what we were building. Kircher was wrong about the hieroglyphs, wrong about the center of the solar system, wrong about the interior of the Earth. He was almost certainly wrong about more things than he was right about, and yet something about the size of the question he was asking, whether a single human mind could contain all of it, feels more urgent now than it ever did in 1680. Because we are still building the same structure he was trying to understand. We have just long since stopped being able to see the top of it. And the last person who could died in Rome in 1680, surrounded by 17 languages and a lifetime of beautiful, ambitious wrong answers.